Welcome to episode 13, the final episode of our Death and Glory podcasts. I hope you've enjoyed them. They've been fun most of the time. I mean, to be honest, they've been a bit stressful. Do a podcast. Why don't you do a podcast? Think up something new to say. Well, you know, sometimes I have, sometimes I haven't. So here we are, and classic surreal Chelmsford Wood Baptist Church, Three Trees Community Centre style. Here I am talking to you on the last podcast of Death and Glory, and in the room next door they are practicing for Christmas, and they're singing One Big Merry Christmas. But that's part of the fun. So this last wrap it all up show, I want to start by, because I think this is going out on All Hallows Eve or thereabouts, I want to start with the standard talk we do every year on Halloween. Now, it's nice to see that most of the church is finally catching up with us here at Chelmsford Baptist Church and saying, Halloween, well, actually, it's ours. It's our festival. I know the neo-pagans want it, but come on, neo-pagans, I like you. I do genuinely like neo-pagans. I think it's very fascinating, but you can't claim the ancient, deepest, darkest of religions, because there's been such a break, maybe 12 centuries, probably longer. And Christianity had taken over this season. Now, I'm not saying it's a Christian season. What I'm saying is it's a spiritual season. All Hallows Eve, Hallows Tide, is a spiritual season. And as human beings seeking the divine, we need to clothe it in something. So we have Hallows Tide, All Hallows Tide, which starts on All Hallows Eve, Halloween. So you can Google all the stuff. It's Samhain, it's this, it's that. That's fine. And you'll probably find, if you do your research, that every website goes back to one website, probably the BBC one, that says it's an ancient Celtic festival, and so it goes on. Which it may be. I'm not disputing that. But for a long time now, it's been a festival. Now, whether you believe in God or not, in the Christian God or not, and to be honest, here we go again, there is only one God. Now, some of you might dispute that. There are polytheists out there. That's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Anyway, I got distracted then again, didn't I? Anyway, Halloween is the season of the dead. It is the European, particularly the British, I think now, season of the dead. It's not the Day of the Dead. I would love a Day of the Dead. I really would. But the Day of the Dead is a Mexican, kind of Central American thing. And we shouldn't steal it. We shouldn't try and take on their stuff, because that's their stuff. I believe it's called cultural appropriation. I would love to take on their stuff, because I think it's quite fabulous. I remember seeing a documentary on this, on the Day of the Dead, the Mexican Day of the Dead. And they were sitting in their rooms, waiting for the spirits of their ancestors to come and visit. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. It was respectful. It understood story and history. It was good. But that, while it resonates with us, it's different. And I'm not saying you can't ever do anything that isn't from your birth nation, because we're bigger than that as human beings. But don't take it on. Don't steal it. We've done enough of that through our time, haven't we? Particularly us Europeans. Why don't we rediscover our roots, our spiritual journeys, our spiritual ancestors? Why don't we do that? Because there's a rich, deep history. I've said this a lot before, and I'm going to say it again because, I've got time to fill. Where I grew up in Weston-super-Mare, no one ever told me that Flatholm and Steepholm in the bay out of Weston-super-Mare were the bones of a giant that had been slain. Why didn't anyone ever tell me that? They go on Victorian, it's about train lines and mud. Why didn't anyone tell me that? And you go to the ancient churches around the Somerset, and they've got hunky punks, and they've got Somerset Towers, and the stonework is amazing. Why didn't we do that? Why don't we enjoy that? Millennia of spiritual story and spiritual tradition. What a shame. Anyway, so we're in Halloween. I don't have a problem with Halloween. I know some churches or some streams within the Christianity does, oh, it's all of the devil, all that sort. It's not. To be blunt, it's not. Now, the modern Halloween, the popular Halloween, I think is quite tacky. It's all about orange and pumpkins, buying some plastic tat that you then throw away, and then you buy some more plastic tat next year. And it's all about blood and horror and spiders and about witches with pointy hats. Well, you can have that. I don't mind you having that. Have that. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. It's like with Christmas. You can have Coca-Cola Santa Claus if you want. I don't mind. Have a present. Have a drink. I don't care. It's fine. I don't think Jesus cares greatly about that kind of stuff. Have a good time. But if you want to find the deeper spiritual truths that underlies these, it's there. So for Halloween, it's a celebration of our ancestors. Halloween is the night before, and as we all know, the night before is far more exciting than the day itself, isn't it? Christmas Eve is far more magical than Christmas Day, isn't it? I don't know why. It's the anticipation, I guess, but it is. So Halloween is the night before, and on All Hallows is the 1st of November. We remember the saints, those who've gone before us, who've blazed a trail, those who've shown us what life is about, what's important. We celebrate them. And then on the 2nd of November is All Souls, which this year we're going to mark. We're not marking the other 2 days, not because we don't want to. We just had a lot of stuff going on. So the 2nd for us this year is All Souls, and we're going to remember the dead. Thank God quietly for them. Lay them to rest again in our hearts. And it's good and it's right that we should do that. Because if what we believe is true, they're just in the next room, aren't they? If they're in the presence of God, life continues in the next chapter. Pray for me, as the saying goes. That's from King of Terrors. Look it up. Speak of me, pray for me. It's nice. So it's a good time of year, and for us to finish this season is good at this time of year. So we're going to mark All Souls Day, and you can look everything up on the internet about All Hallows Eve, and you can get all sides of the arguments. And you probably find after 3 or 4 places you've looked at, they're all starting to say the same thing. Because I think the bottom line is, get over it to the church, and also get over it everyone else. It's not about witches in pointy hats and black cats and spiders and chainsaws. If you like horror, have a horror festival. I don't care. So what do we make of this season? What do we make of the season we've had of death and of glory? I don't know. I am, to be honest, a bit fed up with it all. It's been 2 months of all this, really, which has been good. And we've gone from the very, very earthy and quite painful to look at side of death and glory, from funeral directors and embalming and coffins and all that stuff. You know, should you plan ahead? Should you not plan ahead? Should you pay for your funeral event? Shouldn't you? From that very practical, but also quite, quite cold stuff, through to the almost hilarious stuff around ghosts. Are there ghosts? Because I think most of us, and I'm happy to be corrected, most of us, ghosts are a kind of it's entertainment. Yeah, maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. And we've done a lot in between. And it's been an interesting journey. One of the things I guess I'm going to take away from all this is a greater understanding of the biblical perspective on it all. I'm not scared of it. I mean, I wasn't before. I'm not being macho, but I wasn't scared of it before. But I have a greater hope now, having dug into some of the biblical stuff around the Bible. Well, it would be biblical if it's around the Bible. It's the biblical stuff around the afterlife. Actually, I think it's going to be all right. I think God will hold us. Do I fear it now? I don't know. I didn't really fear it. I don't fear death, but I think like a lot of people, and this is me being very open here, I fear the transition from this life to the next. I fear what that's going to be like. Is it going to hurt? Will it be lonely? And I guess I do fear how that transition is going to happen. I don't fear what I'm going to meet on the other side, because I believe very firmly that what I'm going to meet on the other side is God, who loves me deeply and who holds me close to his heart. So I don't fear that. I fear the transition. I also fear for those who love me. And this, slightly egotistical, I guess, but I fear that they will miss me. Just as if they die, I will and do miss them. I fear they will miss me. And that, when you love someone, you don't want them to hurt. So I guess for me, that's the three things that I suppose disturb me through all this. Will it hurt? The loss of me and how they feel. But we have discovered this shining hope, haven't we? If you've been to some of the teaching stuff, you discover that the Bible actually talks of a great glorious hope for us. And again, if it's wrong, I can't see it being wrong and someone else being specifically right. I think there either is a God, and we've all caught a glimpse of him, or there isn't. So I think when we've gone, either that's it, there's nothing, or there is something, and our faith, and dare I say it, other faiths, have tried to grasp through poetry and music and art. They've tried to express the inexpressible. So when we do get there, it's going to be good. Because however you understand it, and almost whatever religion you may follow, I can't see that behind all of this green screen that is our current existence, I can't see that behind that is a God who is angry and just wants to punish. What would that God? What is the point? I don't know. So I would say, be encouraged, be hopeful. And I would also say, from my point of view, trust in Jesus. Now, I'm not a great Jesus preacher, I don't think. I like Jesus, I'm a big fan, but I'm not a Jesus in your face kind of a person. But I think Jesus does hold that hope out to us. So as we look to our lives now and our lives to the future, look to Jesus. And as we look to our lives to the future, know that actually that is a future thing. Don't worry about it. And one of the things Jesus seems to say quite a lot is don't worry about it. I mean, he doesn't say it like that, but he just says that, the Beatitudes. And then he teaches about flowers and birds, doesn't he? None of this macho crud that we see so often. He says the flowers aren't bothered, the birds aren't bothered. Why are you? And the other thing that we find, I think, with Jesus isn't a set of rules. Obey these and go to the good place, disobey them and go to the bad place. That's a misunderstanding, not just of Jesus, it's a misunderstanding of the Old Testament as well. I don't think the Old Testament teaches that. People go, well, the Old Testament, God's a very angry, smitey God. You can conclude that if you want. But you can conclude other things too about the Old Testament God. And through the Bible you get this development, just as you get a development in the understanding of the afterlife from Hades through to the golden city that descends from high with its gates wide open. And God says, come on in. Don't worry about anything. There is food and light and a warmth here, and all of that is found in God. He says, come into the city. So you have this great story arc, narrative arc through the Bible. Starts in a garden and we mess up. And then there's kind of hell and Hades and, well, if you want to be clever, Tartarus and Gehenna and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of it all, the city descends and all that's bad is gone away with. And we get to be with God. The journey continues with God. It's a beautiful image. So that's our future. But what of it now? What do we do now then? Well, we don't sit here waiting. I think we look at that journey again through the Bible, through Scripture, and we say, well, what happened there as well? It starts off like you do with children. Don't touch that. Don't go there. Don't do that. Don't even look at that. That's how you are with children. And as the people grow and change and mature, and then Jesus comes along, Jesus says, well, you know all that. You know all that stuff. Don't do this, don't do that. You've got all that. This is how you should be. Blessed are you when. Jesus starts to teach the people it's not about the rules, how good you are at obeying the rules. It's about who you are as a person. That is the best way I can find also to describe heaven. We've tried to say, well, what's heaven like? And you can get ideas from the Bible, but it doesn't really say. Heaven is a state of being. Heaven is it's a person. Heaven is a relationship. It's not a destination. Just as all of us, I guess, most of us, we want to be in good relationships, don't we? Whether we're rich or poor. We don't just want to be rich. And if we know people that just want to be rich, well, they often seem to be lacking in something. What we want is, I want to love and I want to be loved by my family, by my friends, by the people around me. That's what I want. And if I find that, that's kind of heavenly, and everything else is secondary. And I think that is one of God's foretastes, one of God's hints, just as communion, the bread and the wine, is just a hint, a foretaste, a symbol of the heavenly banquet. So is the love and the relationships we share now. They're just a hint. And when we get to heaven, we'll truly know, we'll see it, not through a glass that's grimy anymore. We'll see it as it truly is. So keep walking towards heaven. Keep seeking out Jesus. Walk in his ways and be the kind of person that isn't just headed for heaven, but also brings heaven wherever they are. Let's bring some of that heavenly glory, that peace and that love and that joy to the people around us and the world around us now. I hope you've enjoyed the Death and Glory, and now we start looking towards the next glimmer of light in the darkness. For us now, at this point, we start looking towards Christmas. Advent starts soon, And despite the cold and the darkness around us, we're reminded again in another way that God is with us. Amen. And may you know God is with you. See you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.